All right, welcome in to what is this? This is the Slate. It's not the Sweat. I was going to say the Sweat. It's the Slate. We're talking golf. We're going to talk a little bit of hockey. Colin Sherwin, DK Live, is with me today. I'm Jeff Ulrich. You guys already know this because I'm probably on the Slate more than anyone, even Emerson Latzia. So anyways, we got a big week in golf. We got obviously the RBC Canadian Open. We are going to touch on the Live Tour a little bit, so stick around. Colin definitely, he's got some opinions on it, probably like me, and I know he's itching to talk about it. But one thing about Colin Sherwin, he's a massive Tampa Bay Lightning fan, so we got to get his opinions on the NHL first. Let's go there. I can bring up the odds here on the screen and
full bias. Can I go full bias here? Is that what I'm supposed to do? Just go ahead. Wear the shirt. Okay, let's go.
So what are your opinions on this series first? I'll start by saying this. One of my favorite bets of the entire hockey season was just to hammer the Lightning in Game 4, and it worked out for me finally. But what are your opinions on this series so far? And are you of the opinion now that they've tied and it's a 3-game series that is it Tampa all the way for you, or do you have any hope for the Rangers here? Do you think they can come back again, or give us your take on that at the start? I'm going to bring up the series props here as you do that.
So having been to, and wow, I did not think it was. I hadn't even looked this morning to see it at 165.
I didn't think it was minus 165 either. That's way shorter, I should say, than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was like minus 130.
Yeah, for sure. Wow, that's crazy. Look, they got them. They're going to win. I wouldn't take the Rangers at plus 145 on the other side. They're going to win this, and they're going to do it because they're going to continue to do what they have figured out, which is with a veteran team. It takes them a game or two, especially on a 9-day layoff, where they need a little bit to figure out where they want to be and how they want to attack. I think that the young legs of the Rangers surprised them a little in Game 1, especially. I think they didn't really see what, that they were going to be flying around, that these kids, and they are kids, and the Rangers are going to be so good, that level of skill and that level of speed, I think shocked them a little bit. And so they needed to commit. They said, all right, look, we need to get them in the forecheck. We need to get them before they can get to the red line. And so that's sort of been the difference here, is that they're attacking downhill now. They're much more aggressive in the forecheck than they normally are. Back there still, sometimes it takes a game or two for the kid to wake up. But when Andre Vasilevsky wakes up, he's the best goaltender on earth. And, that is no disrespect to Shesterkin or, a ton of other guys, but Vasilevsky has won everything there is to win in the sport at this point. And I think sometimes him and the rest of this team get a little bored, and they gotta, I think we saw that especially against Toronto, is that they were like, you got to get hit in the mouth. They got to get hit in the mouth a middle until they wake up. And then once they do, and the guy who you can always tell is 86. when he is going, he is the smartest hockey player in the world. And what he can do to spark an offense, it not just on the power play, not just sitting on the right wing in his favorite slot, and not just at the blue line, but what he can do to just move pucks in ways to move his body in position in ways to get everybody going. He's doing that when he's making everybody else better. They're just so the best team in the world. And it's like, I was there last night, right, best seat in the house, 12 rows up on the red line. To see them just flowing together and in system, and when they're really committed, they played maybe if not their best game of the playoffs, their second best game of the playoffs last night. Maybe game 7 against Toronto would be the only thing that would be close. They're a joy. They're just a joy, and they've got it figured out, and they're committed.
Yeah.
They're going to win. Now, I'm terrified of Denver. I'm not.
Colorado's a different story for sure.
I wasn't too scared of Toronto. I was terrified of Florida, honestly, because of how they played during the regular season. And look at Colorado price at -220. Yeah, I get it. I understand. That team is just phenomenal. But I do think the Lightning will find a way. I think they're going to do a lot of more third man drop, which is sort of what they did against Toronto to slow down those top attacking lines. I think they'll drop a center way behind. You're also going to be playing like what in soccer would be like a holding midfielder.
Right.
And that's how they'll probably attack them. But yeah, I think they got the Rangers. This is the last run, though. I mean, there's too much talent in the Eastern Conference to get through this again. So
I'm right there with you. I mean, obviously you're more in tune with this team probably than anyone, even at DK. But I mean, I like what you're saying about Kucherov and stuff. It just seems like he's kind of taken over the series too since game 3, which is great for Tampa Bay, because if he's doing that, I think that, like you said, Vasilevsky really is kind of like the neutralizer net. And I think it's kind of a pride thing for the Lightning too. Like you said, this may be the last run. And do they really want to go out against the Rangers? I don't think so. So I think they have been punched in the mouth. The Rangers, like you said, a lot of young legs, and I think it worked for them in their first couple series. They surprised Pittsburgh, and they kind of just they surprised the Hurricanes too. Just don't have the elite talent that like Tampa does. But this is just different. I don't think there's going to be quite enough for the Rangers to do it again. So the more we look at it, it was a little bit of a shocking number. I was really expecting this to be like 135 because I haven't looked at the series line obviously since yesterday, but even at -165, I think you're getting Tampa and Colorado. And then, we can talk about the futures line. I know I said yesterday, Colorado at -200, -220 probably still isn't even a bad bet. I don't really want to take them against the Lightning at that price, but I think if I was going on one of these, I would probably take Tampa to win right now over than betting the Avalanche in the futures. But yeah, that's kind of where we are. Obviously, only short prices left on these guys. So, how do you expect Game 5 to go? Like, do you think that like this done in 6 or?
Yeah, I think it's done in 6. I think the Rangers come out absolutely flying. If the Lightning will need to survive a first period, MSG is going to be on fire. I thought about flying up actually and going to Game 5, and it's just the turnaround is so tough. So for me, I'm not going to go, but to be in that building with this team, who Rangers fans, we've all made fun of Rangers fans. We chanted 1940 for years, then we chanted 1994 for years. This is a team that they really can get behind. They are,
it's a fun team. I mean,
it's a fun team.
Stars, and they've kind of built it. They've built it the non-New York way, right? Which is actually get in young players and develop them. The Rangers used to be the team that just went out and spent $9 million on the Rick Nashes, and then it just didn't work, obviously, because those players got money and they got lazy, quite frankly. So, or they just weren't that good in the first place. But this Rangers team is great. It's absolutely.
And you see a guy like Lafreniere, like he's not even old enough to drink champagne out of it if he wins the cup. Like, I mean, this team is terrifying. Top 3 lines are really strong defensively. I do think that they're going to need to go out and get 1 or 2 guys to really make a run at it, to make a run at the cup next year. I'm already writing them off for this year, which is really, really arrogant. But as a Lightning fan, we haven't lost a lot lately. So, but I do think, I think that there are a couple of holes that they can fill defensively. But as the Lightning have learned, if you've got a world-class goaltender to build around, you can sort of build your defense around that and be more aggressive. And that's what Shesterkin allows them to do. And that's what Vasilevsky allows the Lightning to do. So, but like guys like Panarin's out there and he just sort of mousy around and he doesn't make himself big in plays. And then you see the little things that he does. It's just, he's just the little touches and the hockey IQ. His hockey IQ is off the charts.
I love Panarin too. He's very, very, he's kind of underrated, for what he does, not just scoring points. Absolutely. We could probably talk about this for the next 30 minutes, just because obviously Colin and I both hockey guys, but there's a lot going on in the golf world this week. Yeah, let's change hats. And let's start with what everybody is talking about. Obviously, the Live Golf Tour kicking off this week in jolly old England. They're going to be coming to Portland later in July, but this is the one. This is the one that kicks it off. If you're not familiar with it, it's going to be like a 48-man field. Obviously, Dustin Johnson kicking off as a plus 400 favorite. Tells you what you need to know about the bottom of the field, which is it's filled with guys like Blake Windred and Kevin Young and David Puig. And you probably don't know who those guys are because I barely do too. But
I do. Yeah. I do know one guy in the field.
Okay.
I interviewed Chase Koepka. I used to cover South Florida athletics, and Chase Koepka was one of the better golfers on our team. And obviously little brother of Brooks Koepka.
Yeah.
And so Chase is out there. He has made $378,000 as a professional golfer in his career. He'll make $120,000 for having a pulse over the next 3 days. And that is at absolute worst, he's going to take it home. He's never had a PGA Tour card. He's been offered, he's been on the Asian Tour. He's missed qualifying for the Korn Ferry Tour for the last 2 years. And he's in this field. And he was not the last pick in the draft either. So that should sort of give you some indication of what we're dealing with here.
That's a good way to lay it out. Chase Koepka, I think at one point was on the Korn Ferry Tour, but the last couple of years he hasn't even been qualifying there. So
he made one top 10 and then he never made another top 20 on the tour.
Yeah. So hasn't been competitive at any pro level in the United States. Kind of gives you an idea of what we're dealing with some of these guys. Some of these other guys like Andy Ogletree, still came out of college, really, really highly touted amateur. I believe he's an amateur. I think he was in the field of the Masters one year. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it was the US Open, but regardless, there are still like really young players in this field, like an Ogletree who, maybe they just haven't found their footing yet. It'll be interesting to see if one of them pops up, but for the most part, the back end of this field is it's going to get stronger, but it's kind of a joke this week. I mean, if we're being honest, this is kind of like a 20-man event. Probably you could even just start at like Graham McDowell or Sean Norris. Let's say Sean Norris and work your way up. That's realistically the guys you're going to have a chance to win. So, obviously Live, there's more names going, we're not going to pretend it's not happening. Bryson has committed to the Portland event, the next event. Again, that's next month. Patrick Reed is gone. Pat Perez, it looks like, is gone too. Let's just what's your overall take on this quickly, on this new event? Do you think it's going to have legs? Are you interested in viewing it? Do you think it's going to be good viewership? I mean,
I think I'm super interested to see the streaming numbers this week. Are people going to be, and let's face it, we may not get the real numbers out of that too, because this is all being done via Facebook and YouTube. So whatever the Live people put out there in their PR releases about how many people were watching could be total air. So, but I'm very interested to see what we can actually quantifiably measure and see how many people are watching. Are people going to be sitting at home or at their desk, more importantly, at 9 a.m. tomorrow and flipping around and watching this? There are some things about it I like. I kind of like the fact they're going shotgun start. I think that if I'm watching a sporting event and I know it's from this time to this time and I have a set amount of window to watch it, and especially with Thursday, Friday golf, when you've got tee times all over the place, the Canadian Open tomorrow, there's guys teeing off on the 9th hole, not the 10th hole, but on the 9th hole tomorrow at 6:40 a.m. And then you've got some of the field that are teeing off at 2:15 p.m. on the hole number one. Aligning that and figuring out when it is will be a challenge. But this tour, especially for the events that are going to be in the States, people are going to be able to know, okay, it's 4 hours from here to here and I can watch everything that I need. Yeah. I think that's probably a positive. I think there are, some of the courses they got, these are really good tracks. These are places that the tour hasn't come to. There will be a certain sect of people who will still say, oh, Doral, Blue Monster, 18 at Blue Monster. That's a hole I recognize, even though it's been a long time since the PGA Tour has been there, because Donald Trump still owns the course and the PGA Tour chose to pull out. So I think there will be some of that. But again, these fields are just not strong enough to be competitive golf.
Yeah.
So what happens if Dustin Johnson wins this week? Is that good for the tour? Or is that bad for the tour? I would almost argue that it's bad because the narrative will be Dustin Johnson beats 47 dudes that play in your, Friday member guest.
Yeah.
And that's probably not great for where they want to be. Does it have legs? When the Saudis run out of money is when it won't have legs. And that could take a very long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, from a perspective of like, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. I think that there's a lot of things already that's showing itself that like they're a little underprepared. The draft was kind of weird. Some teams were drafted already before.
And broadcast the draft. Yep. And broadcast the draft.
And broadcast it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's see it. I actually want to see this. I don't think that the draft is a poor idea, but like, let's do it, like broadcast it, make it a thing. I think that the team logos are lame. So there's things they already could have done a lot better, but like there's things about the format that I like. I think that like the smaller fields are interesting. The 3-day event is interesting. I think that it rewards some of the top players. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I still prefer the PGA product. Like, I mean, I think the PGA product is going to shine through well when this is all said and done, but there's definitely some things. I think the biggest thing that I'm interested to see from this thing is how does it change everything? Like, does the PGA make some changes? Because there's things about the PGA schedule that is ridiculous too. It's 365 days a year. We don't need like 10 fall events. Like, so there is things that could be changed. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the second Live Tour event is going to be a lot more interesting. There's going to be bigger names in it, and like you said, I don't even know what a good scenario is for the Live. I kind of agree with you. Like, I think if Dustin just blows the doors off here, it might just be like, well, that was boring. Like let's see. Like, I think what people want to see right now from this is like going down someone who, like a Richard Bland winning, but I think actually be really good for the Live Tour. I mean, 49-year-old, he's finally getting rewarded. He's playing the best golf of his career. That's interesting. That's a story people can get behind. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for sure. But does it have legs? I think they got to still improve on a lot of things. I think the PGA's product will shine through after the first couple, but we're going to get better fields as this goes on. It looks like. So anyways, from a bet, we're here to talk about betting. So is there anyone here?
I do want to follow up on one thing you said, is that
absolutely.
I think that certainly, look, there are Greg Norman, and I'm old enough to remember this. I remember Greg Norman trying to start a world tour when he was an active player. This was something that he's been doing for a long time. And he always said, I will play my 15 PGA Tour events per year, but I also want to add something onto that. And I specifically remember we went through this sometime between 20 and 25 years ago. And so now that it's happening, there are definitely complaints to be had with the PGA Tour. There are things that the players, I think, have legitimate gripes about, their marketing rights, the fact that like, if and seems silly, but like, if you have like a Capital One, the match, you got to pay the PGA Tour for the right to have a match. You know what I mean? You have to compensate them, even though they're doing nothing with it. There's some right and things like NFT rights and things like that Phil Mickelson had brought. Look, I think he's got some legitimate gripes there for sure. How they're going about doing this, though, and especially who they're doing it with, I think that is really, if this was like some, private equity group in the United States that was throwing around this kind of cash, I think there's a hell of a lot less controversy here.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
for sure.
I agree. I mean, like, and there is again, the moral side of it. We're not going to get into much.
We're not going
well
there.
Documented on Twitter.
Yes.
Just go there if you want to take on that. But absolutely. Sure. And again, yeah. So it's going to be an interesting year, quite frankly, in professional golf and how this plays out. But, regardless of what side you're on, it's here and it's happening. So we're certainly not going to shy away from it. Anyone you're interested in this field? Or are you just going to kind of just wait and see here? I'm betting my guy, Martin Keimer, because I like Martin Keimer. He's my guy. He won me a bunch of money in 2014, which is like a decade ago now, but I bet him up 50-1. I don't know. I just did.
I like that price. Again, this is a soft field, which means there's probably opportunity here.
Yeah.
I think
Stafford is kind of interesting too, actually.
If there's a field where Sergio Garcia, who hasn't I can't remember the last time Sergio had a top 10 and he's at 12-1 to win the thing. Like, you just got to find a guy who can get hot. I know nothing. The other problem is that I've had a really tough time researching this course. I know nothing about it
Yes,
besides like
I
holes and
know.
distances. Like I can't find any information. So that's been a bit of a challenge. I think it'll actually be easier when they get over to the States, and some of these courses, I think it'll be a little easier to sort of
I
figure
mean,
out how they
maybe we
play.
should have some interest in Richard Bland just because we know it's in England.
It's in England,
But
right?
I
And he's
feel like
probably
the
a place he's
European
played.
guy's probably going to be a little bit more familiar with what's going on. So
Sure.
that's always my thinking behind Keimer as well. Like he's a Euro Tour player. So
yeah, I like that. I like that thinking there. I would say the big names are probably a stay away unless you wanted to fire on DJ, like because DJ clearly on talent is the best player in this field. That's by a lot. So, but DJ hasn't exactly been playing his best golf lately either. And then, how much time has he had to commit to actually putting the work in on his game with all of the hullabaloo and everything else surrounding. So that'll be interesting.
Exactly playing well before either, right?
Right.
So it is. Exactly. There is questions about DJ's motivation right now. I mean, I'm definitely staying off the top.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, just like Sam Horsfield, Justin Harding are actually pretty quality young players. I don't know if those prices are big enough to get me interest. Maybe Harding's definitely a guy who can get really hot with his putter. After that, like I said, I'd rather just go down to like the plus 5,000 range. Anyways, I don't have a strong take on this field.
I'm a punt. I want to see if are we going to have team bets available? I think that's going to be an interesting part of this too. Like,
absolutely. I mean, and that's the other thing. Like, more golf isn't bad. We could have more opportunity to bet as well. So team bets. That's the one thing I think, like if they want to be successful, they've got to straighten out this draft thing and make it like a real thing, because it could be cool, but right now it's kind of just like a joke. So anyways,
are we going to start deep diving to like bottom tier of the Asian tour, like for players that we think might be on a hot streak? That's kind of where a lot of these guys are coming from.
I mean, I think some guys have already done that. I haven't seen any strong takes about any of these players in the back end. Like I said, Ogletree is the only one that kind of intrigued me a little bit. I follow a ton of guys who bet those tours, and they're not really they're not giving me strong vibes about anyone. So for now, I would say, like, if you're going to take a shot, for me, Ogletree would be my guy. I'm not expecting anything crazy from anyone down here, though. Really not.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha.
Anyways, let's move to the, as some people would say, the real golf tournament this week, which is the RBC Canadian Open. I know you had some good thoughts. So why don't you give us, give us top play, give us whatever, but I know you had a nice like first round lean for sure. Maybe we should start with that.
Yeah. Cameron Smith leads the tour in first round scoring average, and he's at 25 or 20 to 1 at DK to win the first round. And I think that's probably a really good bet. This is a course that is, tailor-made for the crazy Aussie with the gorgeous locks, like the best hair in sports, maybe not just in golf, but maybe the best hair in sports. He should just attack this, of course, downhill all day. Now, if you missed our previous on the sweat, we both mentioned that this course is a par 70 that plays at 7,014 yards. And by the way, the weather is expected to be a little misty, a little rainy, so it's going to be nice and soft. These guys are going to bomb this thing. Like, if there is not an under you could put that I wouldn't take the best players in the world on this track. I think there's massive opportunity. There's going to be low scores and there's going to be lower scores. I'm interested to see, what do you think, Jeff? Where do you think this cut line lands? Because I think it could be like 5, 6.
Yeah, I was going to say
6?
5. I could say 5. There's and the other thing to this is, like, it's a par 70, but there's 3 par 5s, right?
Right.
And none of them are long. And there's 4 par 4s, under 400 yards. And like, I've looked at the layout of this course. That's the other thing. There's not a ton of dog legs for a par 70. Like you'd expect it to be. They've thinned out the fairways, sure. And it sounds like they've grown the rough up a bit. I don't think that's going to matter. I know. I can't remember who tweeted this, but somebody was tweeting, it was at the event. Scotty Scheffler was like, he was like 220 yards out from the rough on a par 5, and he hit it to the green. So if Scotty Scheffler's hitting at 220 from the rough to the green, like it's not going to play tough. Sorry. So I was just looking here if we got any like score props that we could hit up. I don't think so. Like under hole in one, winning margin. No, nothing.
None of that stuff's posted yet, and I'm really interested to see where that ends up landing. I'm going to be under on basically every score prop that I could find. I just feel like that this week. And now the other problem is that I think some of our bookmaker friends are having an issue because this course hasn't been played for this event since 2010. And, golfers are better, equipment's better, everything's better. And so trying to translate any sort of old data for this course over is going to be like a super challenge, it seems like.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, if you want Cam Smith to lead after round 1 and win, he's plus 4,000. So that could be interesting. I know you like him more for round 1. That makes sense.
Yeah, he's number 1 in scoring average in round 1, and that falls to 15th to 18th for rounds 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah,
so keep that in mind.
Okay, so let's go back to the big board. This is the round 1 mods, and my mouse is screwed up. Okay, there we go.
So Scheffler at 7-1. I'd like to see it a little bit more from him as of late. Looks like a Masters hangover still a little bit.
Yeah.
Hasn't quite found his touch yet. Definitely should be amongst the favorites here. JT earlier this week had a little better price than 700. I think 700 may be a little bit low there. There were some numbers floating around closer to 900. I think that might have been a better price, but at 7, he's definitely to be a challenge. Guys in the middle of the field, though, you talked about Harold Varner and how he can or possibly be a guy. Chris Kirk was, I think, the other guy that you were sort of on and thought that could be somebody who could make a run this week.
I just look at this price as for Kirk, and it just seems like a really good bet. Like, he's finished runner-up at the Sony Open a couple times. He's won at Colonial. He's won at the RSM Classic. They're just similar short courses, right? He's been really consistent this year, but I feel like Kirk's a guy who could come to this field and just be like, you know what? I played better than like everyone not named Thomas, McIlroy, Smith, and Scheffler this year, or just as good. And just be like, yeah, this is my kind of course. And I think at 50-1 at the very least, he shouldn't be half the price, or he shouldn't be double Harold Varner. He shouldn't be bigger than Munoz. I don't even know if he should be bigger than Finau at this point. So I just think that's a good price. I think I look at the players from plus 5,000 and down. I think Chris Kirk is it's the best value you're getting out of anyone. So and I think it's a really good setup for him, much the same way it's set up for Cam Smith. So that's a guy I'll have exposure to. I think that's just a solid price.
Yeah, I like where your head's at there. I think that's probably something that we can get behind. What do you see anything in the matchups, especially the head-to-heads? Do you see anything that jumps out at you? I find it interesting that Justin Thomas is a minus 120 against Rory or McIlroy. Like, in a fight, 2 guys in the back alley. Aren't you taking McIlroy? Yeah. Do you, for round 1, like in a fight in a back alley, aren't you taking McIlroy? Like, for your life, somebody's got to go low. Who do you want?
Who's are you talking tournament matchups or?
Round 2 matchups, or round matchups 2-way for the first round, just round 1 only.
Oh, first round. Okay. Yeah.
First round only.
There we go.
Yeah. For the whole, for the tournament matchup.
Yeah. JT was matched up against Scheffler for the tournament, but he's matched up against Rory for the first round. And the other thing about Rory is, what does he do? He plays well at the start sometimes. Like, he'll just come out guns blazing, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I could definitely get behind Rory over JT round 1. Actually, I definitely like that bet. Just looking at some of the other round 1s down here. Lowry and Fitzpatrick matched up again. I do like Matthew Fitzpatrick this week. Again, just like Kirk and Smith, I just think it's a better setup for him. Don't know if I want to bet him against Lowry necessarily.
Right.
CT Pan has dropped out, by the way, so don't bet him. Yeah, did you miss that? Yeah,
I did miss that. What happened?
He dropped out about 2 hours ago. I don't know. It's still some
injury.
I don't know. He tweeted he was in Toronto, and then it's just like, oh, I'm out. So I think he's still having some health issues. I don't really know what his problem is, but it may be COVID related, or he's having something. But he's out. Here's one. You want Cam Smith over Scotty Scheffler? I actually kind of like that bet.
I like that a lot. I was going to jump in there. Look, again, I got the round 1 scoring leader on a course that he should smash. I'm gonna take Smith there, especially at plus money. That's actually a little surprising to me that he's at plus money there. But yeah, that looks really, really solid to me. That would be the one that jumps out at me there.
I like that bet too. What else are we getting here?
Tournaments, yeah. This is what we get. See, look at all this pre-show prep that we did. Look at all that.
No, I mean, hey, we're going through that. We're going through the rounds by rounds. I mean, we gave a couple values. That's what you got to do. You got to get in here and like really dive in dirty to these things, man. I mean, we can go to tournament matchups next. I mean,
sure.
See if there's any good matchups we like there.
Why is Adam Hadwin just completely faded? Looks like that opened earlier and then has moved pretty significantly away on towards Finau. My thing with Finau is that Tony Finau has won 2 more golf tournaments than you have. and that as for as long as he's been on tour, his second place and he's a top 5 machine sometimes at tournaments like this, top 10 machine, but just can't ever seem to close. So if you can get him in a spot where he's going to be matched up against a player that's not going to win anyway, Finau will put you up a good score. He consistently, it's not like he's missing cuts, he just doesn't win.
Yeah. No, I think Hadwin's got pretty good. Like the course is better for Hadwin. This isn't like, the Farmers or something. I mean, it's definitely advantage Hadwin, who's played well too. And just as good upside really when he's playing well on a course like this for Hadwin. So yeah, I think plus 125 at the very least, it should be closer like plus 110. So I think that's a good price for Hadwin there. Got a couple minutes left. So actually, is anyone catching your eye at the US Open? You want to talk that? Or you got anyone else you want to talk about down here? Should we bring up the US Open odds? Or?
Yeah. So I'm here now. So the Country Club of Brookline, I just don't remember enough about the track. I was actually going through this yesterday and I was like, what do I remember about the 1999 Ryder Cup? Well, I remember they were down 1 million points and Gentle Ben gave a speech. What?
Justin Leonard. That's the one where he sunk the putt.
Justin Leonard made the putt.
Or whatever.
The speech the night before from Ben Crenshaw inspires the world. And there's that great picture of Tiger and Phil hugging when they actually probably really didn't like each other very much at that point.
Yeah.
So that's sort of what I remember from Brookline in 1999. But since then, it hasn't been used in any sort of play. So I sort of stayed away from this just because of, but again, it's the US Open. So who do you want? You want guys who can hit the ball really straight, and you want guys who are going to, drivers and irons, fairways and greens. This is all you want. This is going to be a brutal setup. They're not making these courses any easier. And so for me, you giving me Rory McIlroy at 14-1. I like it. It's for some reason he still continues to be outside of that top tier because he can't quite put 4 of them together. But the week he puts 4 of them together, he's not just going to win. He's going to win going away.
I don't hate it. I mean, I don't have a ton of confidence in anyone not named Scheffler and Thomas again. Can they do it again? Just feels like a big ask.
Yeah.
JT hasn't been his best major either. So Scheffler, I'd almost be, if you had to give me Scheffler or Thomas, I'd probably actually take Scheffler, but I would rather go to Rory there as well. Rahm just doesn't seem to have it right now. But then it just becomes like guys who, I'm not going back to Patrick Cantlay. I've been down that road. I'd rather go down here. I'll give out 2 guys quickly because obviously we got to go here, but Max Homa plus 6,500 and my guy Sanjay plus 6,500. Both these guys are playing really, really good tee to green golf right now. Im has not found it yet with the putter. If he does, he will be there because he's really consistent off the tee. Homa's basically doing everything well, and he plays tough golf course as well. Riviera, Quail Hollow, won at TPC Potomac on tough conditions. I love the prices on both these guys here. They're probably my favorite 2 bets in this range. I think that they're both playing well enough to really compete.
So I'm going to go even further down the board. Keegan Bradley at 100-1.
Oh, that is a good price.
Because he's got a US Open type of game too. He's a guy, fairways and greens. Now, he can put up a big number too, and it's what cost him a chance to win this year. And he had one on his racket, and he gave it away on Sunday. But at 100-1, I'll take some Keegan Bradley, please, at that price. That price is just too high for a player that has won a major, that will know what it feels like to be down that stretch at the end. And his game just sets up really well for the US Open. So having not seen the course, that's probably where I'm thinking it's a longer shot.
And the thing about the US Open is, I don't want to say it doesn't matter where they play, but the setup is going to be similar to every year. They're, a couple tiers of rough. The fairways are going to be hard to hit. The greens are going to be like freaking cement. It's going to be tough. So it's the same type of players. It's why Xander always top 10s. It's these guys who just have really straight off the tee, have some power, can get the ball up and hold some greens a little bit better, and then just survive around the greens. So I do not mind that Keegan call. At the very least, I agree with you that number, he should not be the same price as Tringali. So I like that price on Keegan. Absolutely.
Keegan this year has a T8, T4, T2, and a 5, and that's all in the last 2 months.
He's talked about feeling confident. I know I've read some stuff from him. He is coming in confidence. So I definitely don't mind that call. But we should probably wrap it up. We got Bills Dolphins next. Man coming up. Colin Sherwin. You can find him DK Nation. editing stuff, putting stuff out. He'll probably be on Twitter. What's your Twitter handle, just quickly?
At Colin Sherwin.
At Colin Sherwin. There you go.
Two L's in Colin.
But we'll be back with the slate tomorrow. Actually, I'll be on it for a little bit, and we'll be talking basketball with Matt Museman as well. Emerson will be back on it too, I believe. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Madden's coming up next. Bills Dolphins.